show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080. Yeah.
Let's go. What's going on, scallywags, nutmeggers, all across the fruited plain? Let's get it popping. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. Plenty of news and plenty of views to get to in the program today. I want to thank Connecticut weather for not disappointing my wife today. If you want to blame somebody, blame Roseanne on the radio. She woke up this morning. She was up at 1 o'clock this morning, and there was no snow. Furious was she. And then she woke up this morning at about 7:30 because my alarm went off and woke us both up. She was absolutely livid as she looked out the hotel room window and saw no snow. Failed her. She was livid. And then, out of nowhere, like Christmas is supposed to, her wish was granted and flurries came down, some dusting, and then it just kept coming. And she was like, yay, it's snowing. She's very, very happy. And you did not disappoint, Connecticut. And for those of you who hate the snow, you're fine. Blame her if you want. She's okay. She's happy now. She's never going to go outside in it. She will look at it from her window. I say, hey, you want to go outside and play in the snow? She goes, what, are you crazy? No. No. I'm going to stay right here in this warm room and look out the window. In fact, I'm going to grab a blanket. That's what she did. I asked her what she was going to do today. She was like, just look at the snow from my window. She's not going outside. So it's not all that bad out there. It's bad in some other places. Saw some news reports earlier. Those of you out there who are dealing with it, please be careful on the road. Again, there is no need to rush. Take your time. Be strategic. Just be patient. You've dealt with this. You're a New Englander. Snow comes with the territory. You should be able to navigate this. I'm always stunned by people who are surprised at how they have to deal and navigate through the weather when the weather comes, like you've not been here before. So just take your time. Roland and I drove in this morning. I slid once, just once. There's a little bit of, we had a front-wheel drive, our car. It slid once, and I was like, nope, that's it. Nope. You won't get me. You won't get me today. I will not be sliding off the road. I took my time. Roland, were you a little nervous? You've never driven with me before. See, yeah, I did okay. Yes. I know I do have to get the all-wheel drive car. I saw a guy in a pickup truck try to go up a hill. He couldn't do it. This is the reason why I said you got to put chains on the tires. Apparently that's not legal. Is that not legal anymore? I didn't know that wasn't legal. I thought anybody could do that. I thought that was a normal thing to put the chains on the tires. I've never done it, but I thought that was... I'm just saying. Anyway. So we got a little wintry mix out there. Again, be careful. Weather reports will be coming up in the program, so stay tuned for those at the bottom and the top of the hour as well. So I saw a little bit of the cabinet meeting today, Donald Trump answering questions. There'll probably be more of those clips available online. I will get to those in due course. I'll also get to yesterday's outlandish behavior by some of you who listen to this program. I don't know. Pete Hegseth seems young. He's inexperienced. I'd like to talk about the hypocrisy of those statements later on today, so stand by for that. We have a guest today. We'll talk to former First Selectman candidate Austin Monteiro will be on the program. Today, we'll talk to Kim about his reaction to my conversation with Ben Proto last week. He seems to have been talking about it online a lot, as is Mark in West Hartford. A lot of people are sort of chiming in about Ben Proto. I'm going to talk to Austin about that today as well. And we'll get into that. I want to start the program by talking about affordability. President Trump made a mention of that, calling it a Democrat scam, the word affordability. After 4 years of the Biden administration where we saw prices skyrocket and the news media and Democrats telling you, don't believe your lying eyes, that there was no crisis. The supply chain issues were not something to be concerned about. The prices of eggs skyrocket. No. The economy is doing well. It's the strongest economy ever, you were being told. Remember that? And now Donald Trump is calling the affordability thing a crisis. And I got to tell you, the part that makes me laugh is here in Connecticut, how Democrats are rushing to polling places to pull a lever for Democrats while they continue to assist in raising the rate of your energy bills, that everyone is galvanized to vote for more of it. In essence, giving them license to raise the rates on you. There's another one coming up. I'll talk about that later. The new mansion tax. I'll get into that. But affordability. And I was thinking about this. I'm talking to Roseanne. And I said, there's something to this issue that I'm hearing with young people talking about how they can't afford a home anymore. They can't afford a car anymore. They have to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to make ends meet. And you and I used to have an answer for that. Does anybody remember what the answer was? We all had an answer for it. Now, all of a sudden, everyone's acting like they don't even know or they don't even remember. It was college. It was college graduation. It was college majors. It was. Do you know what the peak of college enrollment was in this country? The year was 2010, just 15 years ago. Just 15. That peak was Generation Z. The people who cannot afford homes and cars or the ability to pay off their student loans. Try this on for size, folks. Meaningful employment out of the recent graduating class. We're talking at least in the last 10, 15, 20 years. Here they are. 19% of graduates go into business. That is roughly about 391,000 students. That median salary is anywhere between $55,000 and $78,000 a year. Next on the list is health professionals, nursing, if you will. That is 13% of the share of bachelor degrees. That rounded out at 268,000 students who make anywhere between $60,000 and $100,000. Social sciences and history, 8%, 151,000 students, making anywhere between $50,000 and $70,000. That's how much they make. Psychology, 6%, 118,000 students, anywhere between $45,000 and $65,000 a year. Biology and biomedical sciences, just 6%. 125,000 students. They make $50,000 to $75,000. Engineering, 5% of graduates, 123,000. They make $70,000 to $115,000 a year. How about visual and performing arts? 4%. It's about 90,000 students. They make anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 a year. Another 4%, communications and journalism. $85,000 of the bunch, anywhere between $45,000 and $65,000 a year. Computer and information sciences, another 4%, 100,000 students, $70,000 to $100,000. And then last but not least on the list is education. 4%, just 77,000 kids, $45,000 to $60,000 a year. These kids are making garbage wages. They're making garbage money. Why? That's simple. We became a nation that promoted book smarts over street smarts. We did. We celebrated intelligentsia, the college way. But when kids went to college, we did not forge their future in areas that would benefit them financially. Mike Rowe goes around all over the place talking about how many kids ignored trade schools. HVAC, plumbing, you know the drill. Electricians, you know the drill. Kids don't do that anymore. How many times did you see some conversation or hear of a conversation where people were thumbing the idea that your kid could be a janitor or a garbage man? Jobs that make a considerable amount of money and have actually forged the middle class into the middle class. My pop worked as an MTA worker. This was on my stepfather's side, but he was still my pop, Bernard. He worked for the MTA, the Metropolitan Transit Authority. He was a railman. He came home dirty, filthy, like a bum. He took public transportation, but his house had 4 bedrooms in Hollis, Queens. It was one of the biggest houses on the block. It was the corner home. He owned it. That's right. Black middle class working for the MTA. We don't promote those jobs here anymore. We don't promote those jobs anywhere anymore. Those jobs are frowned upon. Those jobs are labor jobs. And they're wondering why this generation can't afford anything. Well, it's because they're getting meaningless degrees doing meaningless work. That's who they are. I mean, isn't that the bottom line? What is your kid going to do? What is your kid going to be? With all due respect, ladies, how many of you have got a child right now who wants to be a nurse? They keep telling them, oh, it is a recession-proof job. How many hospitals and clinics are closing? That's no longer the case. So now your little girls have to learn something else. And they all can't be CEOs of a Fortune 500 company. So what are they going to learn? Little boys, what are they going to do? They all can't form political action committees. They all can't join some sports team. And they, too, will probably not get a corner office at a Fortune 500 company. So what are you preparing them for? What are they going to college for? To get a business degree? And then what? A business degree to work at somebody else's business that will not recognize them for their business degree? Perhaps your children should get into a space that is going to guarantee them an income that they can actually buy a car or even a home. A job that isn't glamorous. A job that doesn't get them the corner office or make them a CEO. A job that makes them a part of the shrinking and dying middle class. You know, the group of people who keep this whole thing afloat? I'm just thinking about it. Maybe you should too. When we come back, I'll tell you a little bit more about the research that I found that's going on with our children and the academic ranks that's destroying the country that we live in. Stand by. More news, more views than you can shake a stick at. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
Fan of WTIC? Then do us a favor. Download the free Odyssey app and favorite WTIC.
There we go. We're back. It's Reese on the radio. NewsTalk 1080 WTIC. I just got this text from Fulton, man. Thank you for all of this. Is crazy. These numbers that he's giving me are for gender studies at Yale. These prices to go to the school is $90,000 a year for gender studies classes. $90,000. Gender studies. There's no viable employment with gender studies. I mean, none that I could think of. Can you? That sounds insane. I got another message, which I think, I don't want to give it away, but somebody just sent it to me. I don't know. I'm guessing who it is. But it says, oh, my God, Reese, I totally agree with everything you're saying. I wanted any of my daughters to go into a trade school, to start their own business in jobs that are necessary, but it's not glamorous. And that's what it is. We don't, look, let's start with the colleges as opposed to the parents here. We'll start at the colleges. Think about this. If your kid is going to college, I don't care if it's Ivy League or if it's a state college, but if the college is teaching your kid that money is bad and evil, they are not teaching your kid how to make it. They're not. They are not teaching your kid how to survive if they are struggling. There isn't a class that you can point me to where they do that. Anywhere. Where they say, hey, if you're down on your luck, learn to do this, that, and the third. There are no schools for that. If the school is teaching you everything about capitalism is bad, that means the basic thing you need to survive, money, is not on the agenda. So what's your kid going to do if he falls on hard times? What's he going to figure out? Harvard went so far, folks, a couple of years ago and was putting out a notice. Harvard, folks, put out a notice telling its students how it could apply for food stamps. You're going to sit up here and tell me that these colleges and universities are teaching your kids to survive? That they are truly educating your kids? Of course they're not. So when I hear all these kids talking about, I can't live the American dream, it's because you're not being taught the American dream. You are not taught to be resilient, resourceful at all. Now to the parents. Yes, I get it. Your kids go off to college and they come home with the new idealistic leftist Marxist idea, and then you get into an argument with them about Donald Trump or Donald Rumsfeld or George, whatever the case may have been. But you know what we're not doing? We're not doing what I saw this father doing over the weekend. Taking his kid out to do his job. Do you know one of the first things that I noticed when I joined WTIC? We got the holiday store coming up. And I wish Joey was here. Is Joey still here? Okay, I hope Joey's still here. If he is, he may have left already because he's here usually early in the morning. But if he's here, one of the first things I noticed when I went to the holiday store at Avon Farms, I'm sitting there, gosh, it had to be the first day. And one of the first people I met was Joey because I was excited to meet him because he had been helping me out when I was doing the remotes. But his kids were there. And I think his oldest son was there as well. And maybe it was even the middle one. I know one of them wears glasses. But he was right by Joey's side. And as Joey was coming in with equipment, so was his son. And his son knew everything about the equipment. Why? And I was like, wow. It's like the kid, he knows everything that you know. He goes, yeah, he's always around me. And Joey was very, flippant about it. It was like, yeah, he's with me all the time. He knows how this stuff works. And they all know because I do it all the time. It's kind of been my life for the last 20 years. So the kids kind of took it up. And so, but the reason why is because fathers like that are preparing their kids for the future. Now, that son of his may turn out to be, I don't know, whatever. I don't know exactly what the kid's interested in. I know one of them plays football, but whatever the case may be. But can you imagine if he falls on hard times? Can you imagine he's got to switch careers? He can go to his father, or at least the stuff that his father taught him, and go maybe work as an engineer at a recording studio. Do they still do that, by the way, Roland? Whatever the case may be, he knows that job because he's got experience in it. When I see fathers doing that with their sons, even though the kid is there completely uninterested in the gig, the fathers are telling them, just like, look, I'll go this way. My mom, gosh, I got to go this way. It's funny, but my mom said it to me once, and I thought I always bring it up because it's kind of funny that my mom had such low expectations for me. But I remember one time asking my mother, why do I have to keep coming to the laundromat with you? Can't I just help you drop off the clothes and then go play, go hang out with my friends? And my mother said to me, no, you're staying here with me. You have to learn how to do this. Because there's no guarantee that you're going to get married and a woman's going to be able to do it for you. So you've got to learn to do it. And I, as a kid, took that as my mother calling me ugly and no woman's going to want me. Hence the low self-esteem, was a story I can get into another time on Therapy Thursday. But I wasn't realizing what my mom was trying to do. She wasn't perfect. Sometimes she was god-awful. But that was an important lesson that I needed to know how to fend for myself. We are not doing that with these kids. So when we hear them whining about the American dream isn't there for them, it's because we're not preparing them for it. We are not telling those kids, you know what, it's great that you've got a 4th century Greek mythology art degree. Good, fantastic, kid. I'm glad you understand, the difference between transgender and gender fluid and blah. It's all great. But can you change a tire? Do you know where the spark plugs are? Hey, have you even changed a battery in your life? Do you know what to do should, there be a blackout? Do you know how to jimmy rig the light pole or something? Do you know how to work a generator? Do your kids know anything? It's a serious question. Are your kids prepared for the future that's in front of them? Can they do the jobs that are required of them when the jobs that they went to school for don't exist? And they won't. These jobs, these college degrees that the kids are walking out with, these jobs will get them nowhere fast. If you're wondering why they're embracing socialism, where the government and the wealthy provide, is because what these kids are admitting is that they have no skills. That's all they're admitting. They're admitting how smart they are, but then they're also admitting how dumb they are. It's true. It's hard for people to recognize, but it's true. These kids could not survive the zombie apocalypse. They could not. And it's a lot of people's faults. And it's also the kids' fault. While they were frowning on the jobs that we do, the real jobs, the movers, the shakers, the laborers, the real workers, when they were frowning on those folks talking about how they would never reduce themselves to those jobs, how they look down on those people who work, while they're doing that and they're, standing around feeling good about themselves and how smart they are, what no one has stopped to tell them is the reason why you want to be a socialist, the reason why you've decided to become a Marxist, the reason why you want the wealthy to pay for you to survive is because you couldn't help anyone survive. You couldn't possibly save a life if needed. You couldn't go out there and hunt or gather or bring money back ever. You have no way to do it. So what are they going to do? What are we going to do? This is the last, at least for us, for many of us, we've got, if we're lucky, another 10, 20 years to either save this generation, because we can, or just ignore it and just say, screw it. Just let them, they'll figure it out. They're not. They're not. Because as you all know, they're going further and further down the socialism, down the Marxist way. It's growing. And our intelligentsia and our college, and universities, all those ivory towers, they've set these kids up for failure. It's funny. They'll all be smart, but they won't be smart enough to change a light bulb. Damn, that's awful. We'll come back. I'll read your comments in the chat room, the text messages I'm getting, and much, much more. We'll even take some phone calls at 860-522-WTIC. 860-522-9842 is Reese on the radio.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Let me read some of the comments here. Teresa has a few. She says that, Reese, my daughter graduated from a Massachusetts school with 2 degrees, one in sociology and the other in gender and ethnic studies. We had plenty of arguments about her choices, but I did not pay her for her schooling. She's 35 years old, and now she's working a job she hates and has nothing to do with either one of her degrees. My son-in-law went to UMass. Quickly realized he didn't like it. I told him that he should look into a trade school, and now he supports his family with one paycheck and was just promoted again in his HVAC job. That HVAC job allowed my daughter to quit her job and to be able to be home with our grandson. Again, folks, are you not listening? That simple. That simple. By the way, my 35-year-old is a 2-degree daughter who hated Trump, worked in Hartford for 3 years, and listened to my reasoning one day on the way home from work about Donald Trump. She voted for him that year in 2016, and she's voted for him in the last 3 elections. It takes time, but eventually they will open their eyes and realize what's going on. Rama says, my friend's son is an actor, but he went to VOTEC. He went to VOTEC for electrical engineering. Plus, he learned every aspect of theater. So he's marketable during his acting. He's marketable during his acting lulls. Which again, that's the point. You can still have your passion, right? You want to paint. You want to act. You want to do, a podcast. You want to be an influencer. That's all great. But you got to ask yourself whether or not you can raise a family with those skills. Thank you, Jason. Happy Tuesday to you. Affordable says AI will save our world. I don't know. Maybe your world. For me, I've got to do this in order to survive. I've got to do this until I'm at least 75. Would you say that, Roland? Like, Roland, how old would you have to be before you, like when you retire? What's your retirement age? If you had to say, I'm retiring, what would be your retirement age in this game?
When I was 18, I told my mom that I was going to be retired at 30.
Wow.
And
here you are.
And she laughed and said, keep living.
Keep living. I think if I'm going to retire in this gig, like doing talk radio.
Oh, you can do this till you're 75.
Yeah, that's exactly my age. I would say 75 years old. But I gotta stay healthy. I just can't sit here and gain weight. Which again I can do. It's really, really easy. But yeah, I would have to do this until I'm 75 before I could reasonably retire from this medium. But that's, I think most people would. I don't know if most people want to do the jobs that are the hard work jobs. What do you think? Was your generation like that? Do most of your friends do laborious work? Like, are they?
No, I think my generation was the last generation of stern parenting. Hard work, get out there and get a job at 30, get a paper out at 13.
Wow.
So you could start,
earning money early.
Yeah, that's what me and all my friends did. We had paper routes, and we shoveled snow, we cut grass, we did all that good stuff.
What do you think that there is there's a lack of energy towards labor work, like actual hard work, like working in a factory or those things? Like people look at those jobs and like, look at those schlubs. Like, do you think that there's
I don't think they look at it like, look at those, whatever word you just said.
Machinery work, laborious
no, you said
work.
Schlubs or shove?
Schlub. Yeah, schlub.
Like,
look at that worthless old schlub.
No, I just think they look at it like, it seems like a very hard, difficult job. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is.
They don't have that drive.
Yeah. That's
we
true.
Blessed them. See, this is where we messed up. We went through all this hard work, my generation, and then we said, this sucks. I'm never going to put my kids through this.
Yes.
And that's where we went wrong. Because then we didn't put our kids through this.
Yeah.
And now they're all soft and don't have any heart, don't have any drive, and get depressed easily and get sad easily. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right on that. I think you're 100% right. And our schools aren't helping either.
Yeah.
Our schools are not helping.
Yeah, everybody gets to graduate and all of that. But, man, we went through, we got out. I used to get my head knocked off all the time.
I was so used to that.
Yeah.
I
could tell when it was coming because I'd do something that I know I wasn't supposed to do, and I'll just say, you know what, let me enjoy this to the best that I possibly can because I know as soon as I get home, it's all over.
Yeah, indeed. Ram also writes, I can draw and paint, so I went to art school. I went from illustration, which wasn't going to get me work, to film, in which I worked 2 fields within media. Now I'm in my late 40s, and I stand to be replaced by AI in both of those fields. So he's 100% right. A lot of people, and I don't have anything against the arts, as it were. It is, but I always look at when is the job going to be, like if your job is disposable, That's what's going to happen. It's like now when people are concerned about music, that AI is taking over so much that the artist may be disposable.
Yeah, me and my real good friend got into a big argument about that for like days.
Really?
Because he doesn't do music, but now he's on the app and he's made all his songs and he's doing, different things like that. So it made it, and I know what it takes to be. I was like, you can't be, if you can't think it up in your head, bring it from your head to a page, bring it from a page to a studio, bring it from a studio to production, and then come out with the final product. Then what we doing?
Yeah. Let's get to some top of the news. John Silva has got your news in the W.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC, News Talk 1080.
All right, we are back. Oh, man, it is that time. Darn it. So we're already an hour in. Let's go to headlines. I didn't realize it was already 3 o'clock. The Transportation Security Administration, also known as the TSA, will begin charging passengers $45 if they show up at the airport checkpoint without an acceptable form of identification, such as a passport or real ID. The policy will be implemented starting on February 1st of next year, following a proposed rule published in a Federal Register that noted a previous amount of $18. After careful review, it was determined that the expenses for the new technology and operational costs were higher than originally projected, leading to an increase in the final fee, according to a senior TSA official. Travelers who do not have an acceptable form of identification will be able to go online to the TSA website to complete identification steps and pay the $45 fee. The passenger then receives an email confirmation to present to the TSA officer prior to the checkpoint. The process is predicted to take between 10 and 15 minutes, but could take 30 minutes or longer. The confirmation will be valid for 10 days from the day of travel, the TSA said. A senior TSA official told Fox News Digital that the fee is non-refundable and is not guaranteed. Identify verification is essential for traveler safety, of course, because it keeps terrorists, criminals, and illegal aliens out of the skies and other domestic transportation systems such as rail. That's according to Adam Stahl of the TSA. Somebody is coming home. Ellen DeGeneres is reportedly planning to return to the United States after fleeing to England following Donald Trump's 2024 election win. She said that she complimented the UK when she first got there. She said, it's absolutely beautiful. We're just not used to seeing this kind of beauty. The villages, the towns, and the architecture, everything you see is charming, and it's just a simpler way of life. It's clean. Everything here is just better. The way the animals are treated, people are polite. I just love it here. Well, that all ended when it got cold. Because now Ellen DeGeneres is complaining about the weather, and she doesn't want to suffer another winter in dreary England. It's England. It's always dreary in England. I mean, that's what it's known for. It's like it's on the resume. And she said she misses the summer weather in California, so she's going to be scooting back with her wife, Portia de Rossi, in due course. So they'll be back. Welcome home, Ellen. Hey, welcome home. Nothing against you. Apparently, the totalitarian Donald Trump, it's not enough to keep you away. Welcome home. Bridgeport police, assisted by state troopers and the FBI, arrested 12 additional suspects on Tuesday morning in connection with the city's surging gun violence, including 2 men wanted for the Black Rock triple shooting. The arrests bring the total to 31 since Thanksgiving, in what authorities are calling Operation Grinch List. Police seized 19 illegal firearms, including 3 fully automatic rifles, converted with Glock switches, and more than $180,000 in cash. Mayor Ganim said the sweep targeted the Trumbull Gardens and Green Home crews that have been feuding since summer. Community activists praised the arrest, but demanded more funding for violence interruption programs. The city's homicide total for 2025 now stands at 21, with 1 month remaining. You know, it's the interesting part about this is, if you heard at the beginning of the story, the FBI, federal agents, assisted in these arrests. But yet, if these names were like Sanchez or Cruz or Villanueva, the FBI probably wouldn't be allowed to be a part of it. They probably wouldn't even assist them, which is interesting, the whole Trust Act thing. We'll talk about that later on in the program. Yeah, we will talk about that later on in the program. I've got some stats associated with that. Now for the stupidest thing I read today.
Yes, you do. Stupid as can be. This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
We go back to the airport with the stupidest thing I read today. A self-proclaimed transgender employee of the TSA has filed a lawsuit over his inability to perform pat-downs under the Trump administration. Danielle Mitterreiter, a man claiming to be a woman, is challenging the Department of Homeland Security over its new policy ensuring that TSA agents can only screen members of their actual sex. The lawsuit filed earlier this month asserted that the policy violates federal civil rights law. Mitterreiter started working with the TSA in June of 2024 and is currently stationed at Dulles International Airport in Virginia. Because President Donald Trump signed an executive order against recognizing transgenderism in the federal workforce on his first day back in office, Mitterreiter now finds himself unable to pat down women solely because he is transgender. The TSA now prohibits plaintiffs from conducting core functions of their jobs and impedes their advancement to higher positions and other specialized certifications, excludes her from TSA-controlled facilities, and subjects her identity to unwanted and undue scrutiny each workday, according to the lawsuit. Mitterreiter has identified and presented as a woman throughout his tenure, and he performed pat-downs on female passengers between October 2024 and February 7th of 2025. And now that is a no-no. So he is filing lawsuits so that he can pat down women. Just think about that. And you guys are going to vote to bring all of that back. Don't forget, you know, I look at all this and I just go, gosh, it's interesting what these folks are going to vote for. You know, they're so outraged by Donald Trump. They're so outraged by him, they want to vote for the other stuff. Think about it. Drugs coming into your country. Yeah. Illegals coming through a porous border. Yes. More and more of these Somali pirates stealing your money for organizations that are not organizations. Yeah. You're voting for more of that. More of the same. Yeah, absolutely. I find all of this stuff interesting. Anyway, speaking of which, we got Austin Monteiro. He is the former first Selectman candidate out of Brookfield. He's going to be on the program at 4 o'clock. We're going to talk to him about the Ben Proto interview, about a lot of people talking about Ben Proto at nausea. I've got some numbers here to go over with him about the election from a couple of Tuesdays ago. And how it relates to turnout. There's some interesting numbers in here that people should be talking about, and even Ben Proto should be talking about, because enthusiasm is high and turnout is low. And that is an interesting duality in our politics in Connecticut. So we'll talk about that with him as well. What's going on, George? What do you got for me today?
Hi, Reese. I'd like to make a contrarian point of view.
Okay.
I wonder if you've noticed we don't ride horses anymore. We've done that for hundreds of years, and our technology has accelerated in the last 200 years to light speed.
Okay.
We take cars where we want to go. We fly. We take cruise ships. And there's a theory out, and we've developed atomic weapons. Mm-hmm. We've weaponized viruses. Mm-hmm. Now we have AI. All of three of which can singularly destroy us. And now we've developed all three at the same time. Mm-hmm. So there's a theory out there that going out 40,000 years, and that's when we found paintings in caves, going out beyond 40,000 years, we've destroyed ourselves before. That our civilization had developed to such a staggering point we were able to destroy ourselves. Well, you know this. We invented the gun, and we can kill ourselves. And our technology is doing the same. We probably will eventually kill ourselves from our inventions. And
you really do believe this, George? You really believe that we are on a pathway to our own extinction?
To our own destruction, yes.
Yeah,
and not only that, I not only believe that, but I'm saying going out beyond 40,000 years, mm-hmm. we were at this point once before. That our civilization going out 40,000 years had reached this point, and we killed ourselves off. We destroyed ourselves. Our technology.
George, stop. I got to cut you off. There was no. Are you okay? I gotta regroup from what you're saying to me here.
Yeah, I know.
40,000 years ago, we killed ourselves off. Maybe I'm not understanding what you're saying.
We destroyed ourselves as a civilization.
40,000 years ago.
Our technology had developed to the point where we destroyed ourselves. That's exactly right.
But yet our population.
We've been here before.
Where? That's what I'm trying to understand. Where have we been here before?
Well, nothing is standing beyond, 10,000 years. Even the pyramids will turn to dust over time. But nothing that we had developed beyond 40,000 years ago is still apparent.
But that's okay. I mean, no offense. It's like, just because it doesn't last doesn't mean that we are.
I can't prove. What I'm saying is you can't prove there's no way to prove that we've been here before is the point I'm making.
Yes, there's no way to prove that. Yes, I get that. What my point is that I believe that technology enriches a society, not devolves it. And I know that you're saying that we are creating things that only destroy us. But like I said, look, the gun has been around, well over 100 years, right? We've only
gunpowder. Well, what is a Nobel? Yeah. With gunpowder came the gun.
And we've only seen our population grow. I mean, each 100? How many? Not even 100 years. How often do we grow another billion folks?
If you look at that, we aren't growing.
How are we not?
We become more of a terrorist society.
Maybe I'm missing that. Maybe are you telling me that we are not growing as a population as we speak? In my lifetime, we were at 7 billion. I remember in my lifetime we were at 6 billion.
Just look at the education system.
Okay,
it's shot.
Not disagreeing with you there.
We can't. We don't read or write like we should. Like we were. Like we used to. We're going the opposite direction. And look at the last decade alone. We've gone backwards.
I'm not going to disagree that we've had some. I'm not going to say that as a society that we have not dumbed down a generation, if not 2 generations of kids. However, that being said, a lot of my grandfather's generation were a bunch of kids, a lot of kids who had to leave school in order to help out their family. The Great Depression is a perfect example of how many children or school-age kids left school to help their families survive by going to work. So when we had an uneducated populace right around that Great Depression, a very large uneducated populace, that never changed anything. What we had, the difference between then and now, is that then we had what was considered an industrial revolution. We had a working class. We had an industrial working class, and those folks were able to build up what we now know today, or what we used to know today, as the middle class. And many of those folks were uneducated, if not miseducated. What we're missing now is that we have an uneducated populace with no skills, no discernible skills. So I would agree with you to some degree.
Let me make another point.
Okay.
What would World War III look like?
Oh, forget about it.
We're not far from that as it is. China has already threatened us that they would invade in 5 years. What would World War III look like? That's the point I'm making. You're going to use all of the known technologies, and we will wipe ourselves off the face of the earth.
I'm willing to believe, and this is funny because I can look at Russia as a perfect example. There's an underlying thing in these countries like Russia and in China, and I think people are going to recognize it very soon. We're looking at a Russia that can't just wipe out Zelensky and Ukraine. It should have been easy pickings for Russia. But sure enough, all we had to do was supply them with weaponry and money, and Ukraine has stood, they've been standing the test of time against a superpower, I might add. I believe the same is going to be the case with China.
Look at all the atomic weapons they've got in their silos that they wanted to use and didn't.
Yeah, because I believe that Russia has a self-preservation as well, as do I believe that in China. I don't believe that. People are looking at those those other superpowers as if they would annihilate the world in order to win. I don't think so. I think those people believe in self-perseverance just as much as anyone else. But, I believe that's a human trait.
Again, that's the technology that I've been talking about. That's sitting in the silos, ready for launch. That's the point I'm making.
I got you.
This is the technology. This is the technology that we're building.
I believe that we are going to have a technological war, but not one with human casualties.
If you really want to see some super weapons, study Leon Tesla. He had some stuff. He could vibrate a bridge and tear it apart with sound waves. That kind of stuff.
We'll see, George. But thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. I don't know. I'm not of the ilk that believes that technology is the evildoer. That is I grew up with that. I grew up with that so often, talking to people who were so afraid of technology. Like, I don't know what happened to the generation I grew up with, where maybe it was just us geeks, where we were running around. I believe Hollywood culture may have done that to us. That gave us the impression that technology was going to kill us all, that it was evil. And that kind of became the way in which all of us looked at it. Think of movies like The Terminator and Skynet. I grew up with the movie Daryl, that technology could be helpful and could fly a jet. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I grew up hopeful that we could get, if I think about it, Star Wars versus Star Trek. Even though I was a Star Wars fan, I can honestly say that Gene Roddenberry was talk about a guy who knew what we were going to experience. He was leaps and bounds ahead of us. Everything that Captain Kirk had, we have today, with the exception of the teleporter. And we're almost there on that one. Think about it. It's amazing where we are today. I can talk to another person on my phone. I can see their face on my phone. That stuff was in the 1960s on Star Trek. Come on, folks. I don't know. Maybe I don't look at technology in that bad way, that nefarious way. Anyway, let's take a break. We'll come back. More news, more views. I got plenty of stories here to get to, plus your phone calls on 860-522-WTIC. It's Reese on the radio.
Hey, did you hear? It's our birthday, 100 years. Did you happen to get us a present?
I'm kind of broke. It's Reese on the radio. We're back. NewsTalk 1080 WTIC. Coming up in a little bit, Austin Monteiro is going to be on the program. We'll talk to him about the recent losses by Republicans all over the state. We've got some data points here that we'll talk to him about. Also, my interview with Ben Proto, which is often being talked about. But Mark in West Hartford and I are going back and forth on my text message right now about his disdain for Ben Proto. We're going back and forth about that right now. Again, listen, Mark is my boy. We disagree, and it's always been the case. He's a hothead. I'm a hothead. Behind the scenes, I'm a hotter head than you know. But when I'm on the right, I've always tried to keep it even keeled. And as I always say, the Serenity Prayer gets me through. It just does. That's how I live. I want to talk about this before I go back to the phones. You folks that were yesterday in the chat room and called up the program talking about Pete Hegseth, he's young, he's got no experience. Where did he come from? He was barely in the military, all this other stuff. And I wanted to point out the hypocrisy. Plus, I wanted to point out some other stuff. And that is, I can't call you guys the word I want to call you. Okay? And so because I don't have the ability to do that, I want you to think about what I want to call you while I call you wusses. Think about that. You know the word I want to use. Men in particular. Ladies, nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. I understand women who are sensitive about death. I understand women who are sensitive about deportations. I know they're sensitive about guys who say, off-color things to one another. They curse at each other. They insult each other. I know ladies do not find that enjoyable in any way. Okay? They don't like men ribbing each other and saying cruel things to each other or even barking at each other. Women are sensitive to that. But it's the men who I can't deal with. Those are the ones I'm calling wusses. But you know what word I really want to use. Now, that being said, people who are concerned about narco-terrorists getting blown up in boats from Venezuela, you're a bunch of wusses. You do not understand what goes on at the Department of War or the Department of Defense. You don't know what it's like to work in those places where those people have to kill in order to complete their mission. The men and women who are out there in combat who have to shoot weapons to take people out and then live with that when they come home after their service is done. You don't understand that. Why? Because certain individuals have wussed you up to the point where you're afraid of your own shadow. Where if a guy were to punch you square in the face and you saw your own blood, you would be, oh! You wouldn't know what to do with this. This is violence! You're the generation that thinks that words are violent. You wouldn't know actual violence if you tried, and you're a bunch of wusses for it. So I would like to display to you what the rest of us see as the right thing to do when people are killing your friends and neighbors.
And we've only just begun striking narco boats and putting narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean because they've been poisoning the American people. And Joe Biden tried to approach it with kid gloves and allow them to come across the border. Cartels take over community, 20 million people, hundreds of thousands of Americans poisoned. And President Trump said, no, we're taking the gloves off. We're taking the fight to these designated terror organizations. And that's exactly what we're doing. So we're stopping the drugs. We're striking the boats. We're defeating narco-terrorists, and we're standing...
And Pete, you may say one thing, that drugs coming in through the sea by sea are down 91%. And I don't know who the 9% is.
I'm not sure either, sir.
But down 91% by sea.
We've had a bit of a pause because it's hard to find boats to strike right now, which is the entire point, right? Deterrence has to matter, not arrest and hand over and then do it again, the rinse and repeat approach of previous administrations. This is meant to get after that approach. And I will just end by saying, as President Trump always has our back, we always have the back of our commanders who are making decisions in difficult situations, and we do in this case and all these strikes. They're making judgment calls and ensuring that they defend the American people. They've done the right things. We'll keep doing that, and we have their backs, Mr. President.
Good job.
You don't know what that's like. And I get it that you don't. I didn't have to do it either. But I recognize and understand those who do. I've broken bread with those men. Vietnam vets. World War II vets. I grew up around those men and women. I grew up with them when they tell me the horror stories. Some who won't tell the stories and what they had to see, but they understood what the job was. And they had to take lives. They had to do it. That was the way in which we did things. You may not like those. That's okay. You have the luxury of hating those things. That's absolutely fine for you. But please stop coming here talking to me about who doesn't have the experience. You don't know who has the experience. Some of you are the same bozos who keep telling us that we need younger stock in our politics. We need younger stock in our government. We need a younger and new way. Well, guess what? The younger and new way are a bunch of wusses. These kids wouldn't know how to take a punch, much less land one. I don't want the younger generation being in charge of fighting narco-terrorists, because the generation you're talking about would go to a narco-terrorist and say, use your words. I don't want that in charge of the Department of War. I want killers. Stop being ashamed that we have people who are willing to do that. Don't let the Washington Post cloud your eyes and make you believe something that isn't true. By the way, go check out the New York Times in their new article. Yeah, which totally puts to bed the Washington Post lie about Pete Hegseth giving a kill order. There was no second kill order. Oh, they're still alive? Kill them. No. It was kill them. Somebody coming across the border with drugs? Kill them. That make you uncomfortable? Ladies, I understand it makes you uncomfortable, but men, does it make you uncomfortable? Kill them. Hey, they blew up the World Trade Center. Go over there and kill them. That's always been, what? Name a movie. Name a movie. Name a TV show. Huh? The stuff that you watch you think is entertainment? That you laugh about? Look, the hero, he's going after the people who killed his family. Look at the way he blew up. Yeah, there are real people who have to do those jobs. And what do you want? You want to complain about it. Okay, complain. But what does it mean at the end of the day? Nothing. Keep projecting. Keep telling everybody that you're not the guy who's ever going to fight back. Tell them all. Tell everybody the Dukakis way. Come on. Tell that to your family, to your wife and children. That if the chips come down and someone is threatening them or you, how you're going to deal with it. How you're just going to be passive. Be that guy in Baltimore after the vagrant came up with a knife threatening to stab his pregnant fiancée and their 2 children and him. And when the cops showed up, that wimp telling the police officers they hauled that vagrant away. What are you doing? We're arresting him. Why? Didn't you say he tried to kill you or threatened to kill you? Well, yeah. Well, we have to arrest him. He had a knife on him. I don't want to think I'm racist. That you? Is that you? Is that guy you? Come on, guys. Just tell me. That's all I want to know. Just project that. Let everybody know that's the guy that you are. I don't think so. Right now, men are listening to my voice going, yeah, Reese, yeah. There's some others out there who are just going, he's just so mean. You're right, Nancy. I am. I look at my wife every day. Every day I look at her. And I say to myself, what am I willing to do? What am I willing to do should that threat come my way? And my answer is everything. Everything. Even if it takes my own life. So, with all due respect, and I get all the comments here inside the chat room talking about toxic masculinity or that expression of masculinity. I'm just so uncomfortable. Well, rearrange your panties there, softy. It's the way of the world. It's what separates the men from the boys, or whatever it is you're calling yourself today. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's Reese on the Radio.
It's Reese on the Radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, folks, stand by. We've got Austin Monteiro coming in. Well, he's not coming in, but he'll be on the phone in a little bit. We'll talk to him about what many people are calling the real issue with Ben Proto, as Kurt Kavanaugh called here on Friday to talk about a little bit, saying he didn't know what Central Command is supposed to do or what they do. I'll explain this, and I'll lay this out so that people really, really understand where I'm coming from here. And I don't think that they do. Ben Proto being Ben Proto, I don't care who Ben Proto is. And the people who do baffle the hell out of me. And I understand that, Austin's saying online, he's going to come here and explain it all to me. Austin, let me prepare you. Just be on your game. There's an important conversation that's about to happen with all of this. And I hope that you're ready to explain to me what the problem is as it pertains to Ben Proto. You guys are telling me what it is or what you think that it is, but I have some very, very interesting questions about that. And I don't know if people understand these questions or if they've ever been asked, but that's why we're doing this, and that's why I'm having this conversation with him as well as everybody else. I've heard all the interviews. I've heard them all. I've heard all of the criticisms. But there's one thing that I'm not hearing, and we'll discuss that. Because I know that no one is, let's just say, I know no one has an answer for the question because they didn't even think to bring it up themselves. So we'll get to that. So I know there are going to be people screaming, like, what's he talking about? You'll see. It's a really important, very fundamental question in all of this. So we'll get to it with that. Plus, we've got other stuff coming up as well in the news. As I told you earlier, we're going to talk about this bust that happened in Bridgeport and how the FBI was involved and how I'm finding it very odd that people are trying to separate Fed involvement in local crimes when they involve gangs. Yet the feds get no assistance from local law enforcement when it comes to illegals who have committed heinous crimes. It's a weird duality because the feds still assist, right? So if you think about it, when local law enforcement wants the feds in on an investigation or an arrest, the feds come a-running. But then when the feds want help on domestic issues with illegals, we have what's called the Trust Act, where people aren't assisting the feds. They won't hold illegals who are detained, who should be deported. Just let them out, sometimes with no bail. And it's a weird duality. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. Also, there was, sorry, I'm forgetting exactly which thing that I wanted to bring up immediately afterwards. Oh, the Pete Hegseth story. We got to get into that. I got the Trust Act. That's this right here. Oh, that's that voter turnout stuff. Yes, I've got all of that stuff coming up. Okay, so Monteiro. Austin's going to be on the program in a little bit, so stand by for that. Coming up, our first check of weather and traffic. As I told you, the weather's out there are slick. There's snow on the ground. You guys should be careful. Mark Christopher's going to tell you what the roads look like coming up as well, and there's going to be weather as well in the other half. Top of the hour news is coming up at 4 o'clock. So we'll have all of that stuff for you. When we return, Austin Monteiro. All right, so stand by. Mark Christopher.
It's Reese on the radio. And don't say we didn't warn you on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
And we got to say congratulations to Joanne H. of Middletown. She is today's winner of a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe, located in South Windsor, Vernon, and Manchester. If you'd like to win, you got to go to ReeseOnTheRadio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com to enter. Enter as many times as you like. You must live in the state of Connecticut. I know there's some people out there who live outside the state of Connecticut. Find yourself a friend. Use his address. Anyway, enter as many times as you like. You must live in the state of Connecticut. You cannot have won within the last 6 months of this date. Please put in your telephone number and your date of birth. Those things are important. If you don't, you cannot qualify. All right? And we will send you an email, or I personally will send you the email. It comes directly from my email account. I email you and then let you know that you won, and then we announce it here at the same time every day, roughly about 4:05 in the afternoon. We announce it. So continue to enter, and always check out our friends at Between Rounds. We love that outfit over there. When we come back, we're going to have Austin Monteiro on the program. We'll talk to him about the recent elections, the election losses for Republicans in the state of Republicans in the state of Connecticut, and much, much more. We'll have him on here for a little while to get to the bottom of the Ben Proto criticisms that are being made by plenty of people who either don't like him, be it personal or professional reasons. We'll get to the bottom of that as well. Also, you know what the thing it was that I forgot that we're going to talk about today, maybe in the next hour? It was this mansion tax next year, or at least the proposal is for next year. I want to talk about that because this is an interesting thing happening in Connecticut. And I said this back in 2022, that Connecticut, for some odd reason, can afford its liberal leanings, its liberal politics. It doesn't matter how many things they continue to make difficult for residents in the state. People keep voting more from it. But I've got an idea of what may really be happening. And it's not just the fact that it's an aging well, maybe it is. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say it's not just a part of the aging population. I think that plays a role as well. Maybe we'll talk to Austin about that as well. All right? So we'll talk about that and much, much more. Austin Monteiro joins us in a minute. For now, let's get you on the roads and let's get you home safe. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
I didn't know that we were still on. I didn't know we were getting ready to go up that fast. All right, let's get to the phones. As I told you, our guest is Austin Monteiro. Am I pronouncing your name right, Austin?
You got it, Reese. It's beautiful, man. Perfect.
All right, I figured as much. I was like, there's no way I can screw that up. You couldn't get more Italian than that name. It is Italian, right?
No, it's Portuguese.
Oh,
Portuguese.
Of course I screwed that up. It's close enough.
Sir. Yes, sir. Close enough. You did good. You got it spot on. Most people do mess it up, so A+ there, man. I love it.
Not a problem. All right, so you are here because you are one of the folks that are actually you ran for the first selectman position in your neck of the woods in Brookfield. Did you split the ticket?
I'll give you my brief history. So I ran for state representative last year in the 110 district in Danbury, and then yes, I ran for first selectman in Brookfield, Connecticut this past year. The long story behind that, we can get into that if you want.
Okay.
But eventually we went to a caucus for a decision. Locally, it was a messy caucus, to be nice. One of the reasons I have some issues with State Central for a number of other reasons, but that's just one more layer to the cake, so to speak, in how things are handled. But yeah, didn't get through that, and now I'm sitting here today with you.
So let's talk about that because, again, the criticisms folks like you, Mark and West Hartford, say are fair of Ben Proto. Explain to me why those criticisms are fair and what those criticisms are.
It's very simple at the end of the day. I mean, politics is a zero-sum game, like sports, right? You have a winner, you have a loser.
Right.
And if you are perpetually losing, like the Connecticut GOP does, you fire the coach. Like the New York Giants are 2-11 this year. You fire the coach. The Connecticut GOP is much worse than that over the past number of years. You fire the coach. If we can't do that as a party, even though I recently left the Republican Party and currently unaffiliated because of decisions in the direction like that, if we can't do that as a party, there's no sense in being involved in a party at this point in time until we can change that direction.
Well, okay, so but still, back to my question. What is the criticism of Ben Proto? You find him responsible for the Republican losses. Yeah. Explain that to me because I'm trying to understand what Ben Proto's. I'm not saying that you're not telling the truth here. I want to understand his role in those losses.
Well, if we want to talk about last year, let's start with last year, right? First of all, you had 43 seats or thereabouts, give or take one or two, that were unopposed in the General Assembly in Connecticut, where Republicans were not running and Democrats were unchallenged. That leads to a massive problem when folks who are running, because money that's being used for those folks that are essentially running is getting used against them. Long story short, I believe everything comes from the top, from leadership, right, which is the state chair of the Connecticut Republican Party that filters down to all the state central members and then to all the chairwomen of executive boards of all the local RTCs. If you have a chairman at the top of this state party who is not performing at the level where his job responsibilities are literally to win elections, right?
Is he supposed to find the candidates as well?
I believe he should be heavily involved in that, yes, and I believe he should be helping. I believe he should be helping RTCs involved in finding proper candidates.
Okay, before we get into the weeds, Austin, hold on. There's an important part of what you're saying. So you said that there were Democrats running unopposed because there was no candidate on the Republican side running at all, like no Republicans who even tossed their hat in?
I believe it was 43 last year, give or take one or two, between the state house and the state senate. Yes.
Why were there no Republicans running in those races?
That's the $1 million question, right?
Okay, but no, because we're getting somewhere. Yeah. We're getting somewhere. Yeah. So no Republicans ran in those races, and Ben Proto's job, if I'm hearing you correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to assume for you. I don't want to assume. Yeah. Ben Proto's job, in your view, is to find the candidate to run opposed to those Democrats?
Well, if you control the party apparatus, you control the candidate pipeline. So, yes.
Okay, so he has to find the candidate in those regions that wherever the Democrats running unopposed to find someone to run for and then provide them with what exactly? The money, the know-how? What? Because I'm trying to understand why no Republicans in the region toss their hat into the ring on their own. But if you're suggesting that Ben Proto is supposed to go there and handpick candidates, I mean, forgive me if I'm not understanding what you're asking or what you're saying here.
I definitely don't want him to handpick candidates because we see how that turns out, right? And,
okay.
The Republicans of Connecticut have pushed back on that at the ballot box the last couple of times with, voting for Matt Corey and voting for Levy a couple of years ago. So we see how that goes. So the people don't want him picking that, which, again, is why he should be replaced. State Central should be able to go vote of no confidence, 2/3 vote, remove him there. That's what I would do right now if I was part of that. But, no, he shouldn't be personally handpicking these candidates. But State Central as a group and him as a leader of that group and of the party of this state should be helping these RTCs in some way, shape, or form start building a pipeline of candidates, and not just for like this year or last year's election. We have to start going 10 years out and then reverse engineering that back. Let's compare Ben Proto, chairman of the CTGOP, to Roberto Alves, chairman of the CT Democrat Party. They're already thinking 2034, 2035. They have a plan in place for everything, right? Aligned up. They have a pipeline of candidates. They have a deep bench. He has all the money. He has all the connections. He has all the followers. He's pulling all the right strings. So if you want to compare chairman to chairman, it's hard to not say that Roberto Alves is performing at a much higher level and doing the job, as he's also the mayor of the sixth largest city in the state, which he just won by a massive landslide again. He's also doing that at the same time. He's performing at that high of a level, and he just got diagnosed with cancer, right? And we're praying for him, and we hope him to get a quick and speedy recovery, obviously. But if that's the case, Ben is failing in his job duties compared to his counterpart, Roberto Alves, massively. Roberto's all over the state, going to all the RTC meetings, not just sending State Central Committee members. He's doing it himself. He's fully invested. You need somebody on this side of the fence, right? On this side of the team, if you want to compare it to a sport, who has the same energy, the same vitality, the same drive to actually do the same thing. That brings you to the question is, does the CTGOP actually want to even win, or is it really just, controlled opposition at this point in time?
What do you think is the problem that Ben Proto faces with not doing the things you just described? Why do you think he's not doing it?
I know you've interviewed Ben last week. That would be a great question to ask him. Why do I not think he's doing it? I think this state has been compromised a long time ago, and when you've been involved in state and local level politics like I have for 6 election cycles now, you kind of see it from the inside and get the inside baseball, so to speak. And you can see it from the choices made in candidates and from the choices made or not made in not being able to get candidates to run, where the money's going, all this sort of stuff. CTGOP essentially is bankrupt. All these sort of things lead to essentially one answer, and one conclusion is that they want to lose. I don't see any play where it's an aggressive play to offer people something different to vote for and not just vote against, and to actually go out there, give it your all, and actually try to win. I mean, after this year's election, all I saw over social media from the CTGOP was, regardless of the outcome, we're proud of your effort. Like, the outcome is the point, right? The outcome is to win. Again, we're playing a zero-sum game. The goal is to win here with the best candidates you can possibly get. And it's just been failure across the board from the CTGOP, and Ben leads that. So at the end of the day, all the responsibility falls to leadership. And the only way you fix a problem, any problem, business, family, sports, politics, is with better leadership. That's the simple answer and a simple solution.
Okay. I disagree with you. Let me start with why. With why I disagree with you. Okay. One, politics are not like coaching a team. That's completely different, because beauty of it is that usually afterwards, like, you can blame the coach, but if the team sucks, you start trading off people that really are responsible, like the ability of those who play on the team. You change quarterbacks, you change offensive line, you change cornerbacks, you change safeties, you change kickers even when they don't. Because trust me, coaching is one thing, but playing, that's the sport. So I understand the Ben Proto and the sports analogy, but after a while, telling the player what to do and what plays can be one thing, but the execution is the most important. And in this case, we're talking about the players. Let's start with where we began this conversation. Sure. And by the way, if you're just joining us, we're on with Austin Monteiro. You said that there were people who were running, or Democrats were running unopposed, and there should have been, I guess, in some way, the Republican Party should have been active in finding opponents for those Democrats. Yeah. I looked at most of those cases where people were running unopposed, and I couldn't find a Republican who was remotely interested in running. So if the well is dry, that becomes a problem in Republican politics. And to be honest with you, what I've noticed as of late is that a lot of Republicans are not even thinking about running because they think it's a lost cause, much like you do. You believe Republicans in this case are a lost cause, which is in essence why you became unaffiliated, right?
Unless you change leadership in many areas, then yes.
Yeah, but see, okay, let me start with this.
Sure.
I always believe that perception is 90% truth. You calling yourself unaffiliated doesn't mean that you're now caucusing with Democrats, does it?
Of course not, no.
Okay, but it means that you're conservative, right?
I think I'm probably one of the 3 remaining conservatives in Connecticut, yeah.
Not if you're unaffiliated, sir.
Yeah, I do not align with the Ben Protos in Connecticut.
Ben Proto isn't the party. That's like saying Donald Trump is what Republicans are. He might be what MAGA is, but MAGA is even bigger than him. Uh-huh. So I think that we're playing the whole unaffiliated semantics thing is kind of, interesting, but whatever. That's not important. Okay. But, okay, so here's the important part. Now, Ben Proto, again, as I mentioned on this program, has a host of issues to deal with. And that is, one, ignoring people like you. Mm-hmm. But I understand why he's ignoring people like you. Not that he's justified in it, but I know why, because he made it clear. Is that what he believes is just a whole bunch of backbiting. But he's decided to immediately eliminate that from his purview so that he doesn't hear it, but he may be missing crucial criticism that could be helpful. One, he knows what his constituency is asking for, or at least the leadership needs. If he were paying attention to that, of course, he could then readjust. He could sort of adjust, aim, fire, and then be a winner here. But because there's this backbiting with the Republican Party and people saying they're becoming unaffiliates and leaving the party, it almost leaves everybody like they're treating the entire ship like the Titanic, which in essence means, you know what, you guys are pretty much sealing its fate instead of fixing the ship, if that makes any sense. Is that fair in any way?
I understand what you're saying. To kind of go with what you kind of led off with the sports analogy, let's use the New York Giants again. They didn't cut Jackson Dart. They fired Brian Daboll, right?
Did you see what Brian did? Did you see what that kid did?
Understood, but so to blame this on candidates, I think is the complete wrong approach.
No. When I say candidates, I'll get into that. I'll get into the candidates in a minute. See, the candidate has to run the race because that's who the person is voting for. When people go to the polling place, they're not voting for Ben Proto. They're voting for the candidate, the face of the campaign, right?
So then, Reese, who do you think is responsible for 43 unopposed seats last year?
I think people who did not step up and run. That's what I believe.
Understood. Whose responsibility is it to make that known to the people? Because a lot of people just aren't aware. So whose responsibility?
No, that falls on Ben Proto. That I agree with you. That falls on Ben Proto. No, but that's not the question. Yeah, but Austin, that's not the crux of the issue. See, what I'm trying to establish here is that the crux of the issue is Ben Proto becomes the figurehead of a bigger problem, right? In fact, a much more complex problem. Right? It's sort of like saying killing Osama bin Laden got rid of terrorism. It didn't. Ben Proto is becoming the Osama bin Laden of the Republican Party. And people are demonizing him and saying, here's the reason why we're losing. That doesn't make sense to a guy.
Let's not give him that much credit.
Hold on. We are giving him that much credit.
I mean, he said Bridgewater, Connecticut was essentially a good sign for Republicans. Am I wrong there?
He said, in fact, he said that about many of the big cities. Because there was zero turnout there.
Bridgewater, Connecticut, my parents live in Bridgewater, Connecticut. They had 831 votes, and that went full blue across the board.
No, it's crazy.
How is that a good sign?
I'll tell you why. Because, again, and we got to take a break. So I want to keep you on for the next break. But here's important. The primary turnout is a key part in all of this, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. So stand by. Austin Monteiro's on the phone with us. We'll be back. Let's get some more check of the weather and traffic out there to get you home safe. Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Stay locked in. Reese on the radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, we're back. In a couple of minutes, we'll be back with Austin Monteiro to talk to him about, the elections here in Connecticut, the off-year elections, where Republicans lost so many seats and there were so many turnover. It was incredible. There's some numbers here that I'm going to get into with Austin. I don't know if he's seen these, but plenty of people should look at these numbers. They are important to note. And I went over these last night before I called Austin today to everyone's show because I was going to just read them over the air. But when I heard him talking about this online, I wanted to bring him on. So we're going to do that in a minute to talk about this. He mentioned something about the sports analogy, which I love it when people incorporate sports and stuff. I always think of sports in this way when this conversation about the leadership versus the players. After he was coined the MVP of the Super Bowl. What do you remember? What's the guy's name who used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers who caught that game-winning touchdown at the end of the Super Bowl on his tippy toes? Santonio Holmes. That's what his name was. And he played for the Jets soon after that game. He was traded to the Jets. And I'll never forget when he was on that team. And I said, man, there's no telling what we'll be able to do. But unfortunately, he had to deal with Mark Sanchez as a quarterback. And he was still Santonio. It was tragic. Nothing could be worse. But I remember after his first season, he got into some trouble in the news because it had been rumored that he was cursing out Mark Sanchez and others on the offense about not getting the ball. And people thought he was pulling what was the guy's name that used to be the loudmouth from the Tampa? He used to play for the Jets, then went to Tampa. Keyshawn Johnson. They was pulling a Keyshawn Johnson, just give me the damn ball. And what was interesting was that people didn't understand what Santonio Holmes was talking about. And that was, I'm getting paid $10 million a year on this team, and I don't have the stats to back it up. I can't justify my contract if I'm not catching the ball. I can't. So that's the point that I want to make about all of this, is that the candidates have got to justify their paycheck, in my view. And you can blame the coach all day. But I think that sometimes you fire the coach first. It's because a mutiny will happen if you fire the players first. They're the ones with the large contracts. But I digress. Let's get another check of traffic and weather. Mark Christopher's out there. He's going to let you know how to get home and get home safe. Hey, Mark.
The NAACP calls him, whoa, I don't think I'm allowed to read this. It's Reese on the radio. Let's just say some people are not fans. On News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Yeah, we are back, and Austin Monteiro is on the line with us discussing politics and Republican politics in Connecticut. Austin, have you seen the autopsy of last, what was it, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago was the election? Have you seen that autopsy yet?
Yeah, I saw that a year ago. Saw that coming a year ago, Reese.
You saw it coming a year ago. So you saw the primary turnout gap where Republicans edged Democrats by nearly 3 percentage points in the primaries and then didn't show up to the election this past November?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
100%.
What's the reason for that? Why show up at the primaries and show up 3%? Why show up in registration numbers barely reaching, what did we have here? What was the We actually just added 2,300 votes, and the Democrats added 32,000 registrants in that case. Exactly. What do you think that's about?
Again, leadership of the party.
Mm-hmm.
And you're running this year, then to layer that, which is very easy to see, it's just going back throughout history, right? You're coming off a post-presidential election where, President Trump won. Clearly, that's going to drive the Democrat Party to have a higher turnout on their side, and it's going to really rile up that base. We've seen all the No Kings protests, and with the CTGOP, with the candidates at top tickets and a number of municipalities not having the energy or the leadership to inspire others, and again, giving people something to
Where was the Republican? Wait a minute, Austin, where was the Republican Party? Where was the establishment Republican Party while there were rallies? And I'll give this one I can give directly to Mark in West Hartford. Mark said when Dick Blumenthal and Chris Murphy showed up in West Hartford at that public school, to talk to members of everything from Indivisible to every other, outfit out there. There were no Republicans stationed outside that place protesting or showing up giving a press conference. Not one, not a single solitary establishment Republican, even a Republican running for office, showed up out there in solidarity to counter the presence of Dick Blumenthal and Chris Murphy. Is that Ben Proto's fault too?
So if I was running the CTGOP, I don't think you go fight an enemy on their same territory. So
hell yeah, you do.
No, you don't. Being reactionary.
No, I didn't say reactionary. That's not what I said at all. No, it isn't.
Counter No Kings, counter this, counter that.
I didn't say no. I didn't say do any of that, Austin. You obviously didn't hear me. I'm going to say it again. There was no presence of Republicans holding a press conference. I didn't say a rally. I said a press conference. There were cameras there, and Republicans could have shown their solidarity with not just Donald Trump, but also shown their resilience against things like allowing illegals to stay in the country, countering the message of Chris Murphy and Dick Blumenthal, who were there to promote or champion illegal staying in the country, or in Connecticut for that matter.
This is the event last March or so where Mark was filming. I remember this event. Yeah, sure.
No Republicans, except with the unaffiliated Mark from West Hartford.
Right. No, yeah, I understand that completely. So in a situation like that, do you want to have a presence there? You 100% can. Should the leader of the party be doing something in regards to that? 100%. We don't have these state senators on this side, on this team, to go up there and have the same kind of bandwidth and, let's use power for lack of better words, or if that's actually the right word, to kind of counter that. But yes, as far as having a presence there, if I was the CTGOP chairman, 100%.
You don't need him, Austin. Austin, you don't need him. Listen, you're a guy who's run for office. No, hear me out. You're a person who's run for office since 2021. You have a presence online. You've got a considerable amount of followers on X, don't you? On social media?
Yeah, X, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, and you're popular. You live in Danbury, which, again, was another focus of ICE agents coming in and freeing young ladies from trafficking. Right? Do you need permission from Ben Proto to go out there and get in front of the cameras and tell them that you applaud ICE for coming in and freeing those young girls, or getting in front of cameras and saying that you want more ICE presence in Danbury, that you want more ICE agents in and around the state, like when they went to Newington or they went to Hamden? I don't see any of the, again, establishment Republicans who don't need Ben Proto to do those things to get in front of those cameras or show up at these locations and demand that Donald Trump and his administration be respected, because overall the American people elected him to do the things that he's doing. I'm not seeing that.
Sure. No, you don't need Ben's permission to do anything. You can just do things, as that meme says, But as the leader of the party, there should be some more
guidance,
some more show of leadership from the top. If I were a local official in a number of these towns, 100% you want to show face there and do that and stand up for what you believe in. If you are a conservative, now that does not mean, to go back to what you said about me before, having the letter R next to your name. That doesn't mean anything, right? It's about what you feel and what your principles are in your heart and what you stand for and what you stood for your entire life. And that's what matters at the end of the day. But, yeah, if you're an official elected or somebody looking to get involved, 100% you don't need Ben Proto's permission to do anything. Like, no chance at all. But if he or somebody else, hopefully, is the leader of the party, it only makes things that much better, and that's the only chance, in a way, that you actually have an opportunity or hope and a prayer to move the needle in this state for conservatives, right?
Hold on. So, wait a minute. Make sure I'm getting you correctly. So you're saying if you're hoping to move the needle in a particular way, that you need Ben Proto to do that. Am I hearing you right when you're saying that?
You need better leadership from the chairman of the Connecticut GOP that inspires people. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Without a doubt.
And okay.
If not, you have nothing.
Okay. And outside of Ben Proto, we have no other leadership here. No one that we turn to. No popular conservatives in established conservative circles that we use that are influencers or thought leaders or, I mean, just anyone. We don't have Ben Proto is it, if I'm hearing this correctly?
You have other folks around the state, not many. I like Matt Corey a lot. I think Matt's a very strong candidate and a person who I've talked to personally quite a bit and respect him for sure. I think Senator Harding can be that person. He doesn't have a huge following from a presence on social media or anything like that, but he can definitely be that person and fill that void in some way, shape, or form. Once we start kind of getting outside of those two off the top of my head from people currently in or running for office, I think the influence factor gets a little bit slim, and that is a whole other problem to kind of talk about too.
Yeah, because what I'm hearing from you is that here it is, Ben Proto's being reelected as the Republican chair, and people are going, we need to stop going back to Ben Proto. We need new leadership. So let me ask you the $64,000 question.
Sure.
Whom? Who?
Well,
name his replacement right now.
Last year, Jason tried to run, and they...
I don't know who that is.
Jason Douglas tried to run last June. He was blocked out of the room. They locked him out of the room, and they had to proxy vote. They had it all set up to beat him, which to me is disgusting, and the exact epitome of why you need a replacement as the leadership of our party. If you're behaving like that, it sets precedent for all the RTCs down from all 169 municipalities in our state, and I've seen that firsthand on a number of RTCs, the same kind of behavior, which gets us to this exact point in municipal elections, 4 weeks ago now, when we had a bloodbath, for lack of better words, right? And that's exactly what
I called it, a shellacking, if anything.
Yeah,
but
one of those two. You're going to continue to get the same results and repeat the same results. As that.
But here's the thing, Austin. I'm not hearing ideas. And aside from I'm sorry,
I have a lot of ideas we can hear.
Oh no. When I say ideas, right? I'm just saying, okay. So as I said yesterday on the program, I began the show in talking about Ben Proto. I said the serenity prayer, right? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can. Right?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So here's your opportunity, right? To change the things that you can. We can't change Ben Proto. He's been voted in. So what can we change? What courage do we have to change anything? What do we change? Do we change our strategy? Are we vocal? Are we physical? Mm-hmm. When I say physical, do we get our butts outside and we start countering some of the things that we are seeing? Are we holding our press accountable? Because when I tell you, I come on here all day, and what do when I see Fox 61 somewhere or I see WFSB another place? As a radio host doing stories that they don't cover, you know what I do? I stop complaining about them. Now I confront them. Now I call them on the phone and I say, hey, you're not telling your audience about this story, and this story is important to them. And guess what? Through the help of people like Mark in West Hartford, who, again, I've done anything and everything I can to get him or get his stories on the front pages or at least in the newsrooms. And the reason why I've done that is because those things are important. So I don't wait for the quote-unquote establishment to do the work that I can do myself. So now, here's That's why I'm saying to everybody, I get the Ben Proto thing. It's easy. Like, this guy's low-hanging fruit to a lot of you folks. And it's not a lot. And the people who are so upset thinking, I'm giving him cover. No, I'm not giving Ben Proto cover. There's no cover to give him. He is the Republican chair. What cover could I possibly give him? He is who he is. I have no control over that. But what I do have control over is this microphone, these airwaves from 2 to 6. And here's what's better. Here's what's better. If I fail at this job, no one's going to blame my boss. They're going to blame me. They're not going to go, Janine, you know what? The guy was getting great ratings. It's a shame you have to fire him. I'm going to kick butt on this program to ensure that they can't. That's my job. So if I'm asking you bottom line, as much as you and Mark and everybody else who hates Ben Proto, give me a roadmap to victory without him.
Very simple. Well, first, you can do something now. If State Central had a backbone, they could go vote no confidence, and he's out, at their next meeting at Casa de Mia. So that could happen right now. But let's take that and push that aside. He's also up for re-election now in 2027, which will be here before you know it. So start, trying to find candidates for that. With that being aside, like you just said,
what happens if he runs unopposed? I'm kidding.
But there's only 3 levers we can pull, right? What's our leverage? I think is essentially your question. What you're doing is great in the media essence of it, and sharing other people who are trying to do similar things. Obviously, there's a ton of leverage there when we can kind of shape the narrative in public perspective, that can shape votes at the end of the day. The second form of leverage is capital, right? That's it. So capital, and what I mean by that is being able to actually fundraise.
That's right.
We can get into a lot of things there, but when I was running for cigarette blaster, I hit the CEP grant pretty quickly. But then to go against, look at the Democrats, Farley Santos, who's a rep in the 109, he qualified last week for a CEP grant in less than 24 hours. So that's what we're up against too. So raising money is huge. And then the last thing is the last form of leverage that we can pull here is going to be people, right? And what I mean by that is obviously higher quality candidates who know there's actually open positions so we can train them how to run, getting people registered to vote 100%. And then here's what it all comes down to at the end of the day. It comes down to who can actually work the hardest and the smartest, right? When they're on a campaign trail. And that's going to be knocking more doors than the next guy and using a negative motivation that people call you XYZ names on social media, right? And go using that and go knocking more doors, winning your neighborhoods, building a team and a coalition in your specific district. And then going from there, and then going from there, getting a team of people around you. Maybe they're not part of an RTC. Maybe they are. I would love to look at RTCs and its current form is completely archaic and change that. But building a team around you of people who can go out there and kind of grassroots grow this thing. But it has to be meeting people where they're at. And another thing, too, here, why I ran in the 110 district of Danbury last year, it is actually the most urban district in the state.
It is?
It is. Lowest income levels in the states. Most people without a high school diploma in the states. Most people with English as their second language in the state. A number of other places we don't want to be. So I purposely, I grew up in that district too. It's,
I know Danbury very well. Yeah. I know that area very well.
It's Main Street, downtown Danbury, Town Hill Avenue, that area. So being able as conservatives to go into those neighborhoods, which, aren't the best, and being able to have conversations with folks at their door, but then not just talk to them, you have to collect data, for lack of better words, from them so you can pull them to the ballot box. Because a lot of these folks, and we just saw it in the numbers, Reese, they don't go out and vote, even though they're conservative. They're conservative in nature and in their hearts and in their life.
Can I tell you why, though? Can I tell you why they're not going out and vote?
Hit me, yeah.
Because it's really simple, and I've been saying it to everybody who has opened up their mouth and said it, okay? Mm-hmm. You guys are dumping on Republicans in this state, and Republicans are joining in. The Democrats can say everything that they can about Republicans, and Republicans have joined in. People have said they called them rhinos, they've called them this, they called them that. And as far as I'm concerned, it would be like being on a team and everybody on the team crapping on everybody saying how much we suck. I wouldn't want you on my team. You're not going to sit up here and tell my team you're not going to be encouraged. You can't encourage people when you're saying that the team we're on sucks and you're joining in with the other side, talking about how much we suck. You either have confidence in the team, you're either putting all of your skin in the team, like putting some skin in the game, or nothing, or we're worthless. That's the only point I'm making. Last word, you got 15 seconds.
I'll leave you with this. Here's a quote that is the issue with the current Republican Party. So every successful enterprise needs three types of people within that enterprise. You need a dreamer, you need a businessman. Can I swear on here, Reese, or no?
No, you can say damn or hell.
Okay, you need a dreamer, you need a businessman, and you need an SOB. And we are lacking all three of those in the current setup of the party. And if we can fix those things, we can fix a lot of things. Oh. That is Peter MacArthur, 1904.
I agree with you. Hey, by the way, I'm your Huckleberry. Thank you, Austin. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. You got it. Brother. Let's get another check of weather and traffic. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Traffic Center, getting you home.
All right, Roland's our dreamer, you're our businessman, and I'm the SOB on the afternoon program here at WTIC.
The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hey, we're back. Reese on the radio. And thank you again, Austin Monteiro. I appreciate you coming on the program. I don't do a lot of the whole punditry thing. I was just telling Mark and West Hartford about that. It's just like, that whole bringing on politicians once a week and all that other. Nope. Because I can't. There's so much that I have to do. Like, I have benchmarks on the program. Right? We do Hollywood news, which I normally would do now, but when I don't feel like doing it, I won't do it. But there are benchmarks. Stupidest thing I've read today, that's what we call a benchmark on the program. Right? When we do the between rounds giveaway at 4:05, those things are what we call benchmarks in the program. Right? The headlines at 3 o'clock, those things, that's a format of the show. Those weekly things, as a lot of people do, it takes away an element of the show for me. It just does. Why? Because unlike a lot of radio, and I've been in this business now, a little more than 20 years, I can honestly tell you that I learned, and this was a trial by fire, what made radio great for me was the style of no style. There are some things you have to do in radio that people, expect. But the style of no style, because sometimes when you're in the talk radio business, you could be thrown for a loop. You'd be here one day, and next thing you know, some tragedy happens, and they'll cut you off. So everything you had planned is out the window. Or you have to then talk about that thing. So you have to be able to adapt when those things happen. And that's why I like to keep it as loose as I possibly can. Sometimes I don't get to the stories. You'll even know that. I'll tell you, hey, I got this story coming up, and then I'll never get to it. And I got to save it for tomorrow, and then I look at it tomorrow, and I go, nope, story's over. Can't do it. Because it seems like old news to me. So, some of these guys who are in politics, I like bringing them on. I'll talk to them a little bit, but no offense to any of you guys in politics. Some of y'all are boring. No offense. I'm sorry. I don't mean it in a mean way. I know it's going to sound mean. I don't mean it that way. I don't. But it can be. You guys know. I'm not telling you any tales out of school. A man who's not boring, especially days like today, because he's excited about days like today. Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. How are those roads looking out there, Mark?
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
When people make sports analogies or make sports references, they drive me nuts. Why is it so contentious to talk to people about sports? It doesn't have to be, but they drive me up the wall when they do. I don't know why. I take it personally. So Matteo, my good friend out of Bristol, he's in here saying that he disagrees with me about the sports analogy that I made about Santana Holmes, and the coaching. Like everybody blames the coach because he's the easiest guy to fire. Right? When there's a contract, the guy could have a 5-year contract. They can fire him 2 years in if the team has an abysmal record. right? The coach will always get it. It's like, yeah, it's always the coach. It's never the players. It's never the players. Why? Because the players have contracts and the players sell jerseys. And they're the last ones to go, even when they're god-awful and they suck, right? That's just the case. You cannot, it is difficult for you to get rid of a player because of the contract and the stipulations therein, right? Plus, you don't want to have to pay for them in order for them to leave and go someplace else. You don't want to be on the hook for that said player. The coach is the easiest guy to fire. He just is. Now, the fact that nobody seems to get that it just astonishes the crap out of me. But with that being said, and who's calling me from this number? Anyway. I just want to go to what Matt's talking about here, right? He says that quarterbacks who left the Jets, of all places, go on to have great careers after they leave. And so I said, who left the Jets and went on to have a great career? And he says, and I can't believe it, he said Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. Just recently. Well, guess what? The same could be said for Brett Favre when he left the Jets and went to the Minnesota Vikings. He had a stellar career. Win a Super Bowl? I think not. But he had an amazing game against the Green Bay Packers for that playoff game. I think it was the game that was actually to go to the Super Bowl that year. I'm almost certain it was. Right? It was a great game. But anyway, it was a fantastic game. High scoring. No, it was Arizona Cardinals. That's who it was. But it was a great game. I'll never forget that game. Even though I kind of forgot it. But nonetheless, yeah, Brett Favre, sure. But wasn't he a legend before he got to the Jets? Damn sure right he was. Same thing for Aaron Rodgers. Now, Sam Darnold used to play for the Jets, went over to Carolina. How'd he do? Enough to get traded to Seattle. That's right. He went to the Vikings first. That's right. I totally forgot about that. He became a journeyman quarterback. Legend? I think not. Oh, and then there was another one. You remember the guy who got punched in the face by his defensive lineman? What's his name? Geno Smith. He went on to have a great career at Seattle. Where's he at now? Where is he? Anyone? Bueller? Roland, do you know where Geno Smith is now? That's right. Playing for the Vegas Raiders. Why is he playing for the Vegas Raiders? Because that's where all losers go to die. That's why. That's where you want to end a career. I don't know what it is. It's like the Raiders is always where you go to end your career. I don't seem to understand why they do, but they do. So what are you talking about, legends? It is always the player. It is. I know people hate it, but it's always the players. Is that people don't ever want to put it on the players. And after a while, you're going to have to say that, coaching it's easy. But I'm just telling you, I could do this all day. I could do it all day. Sam Darnold. Was Mark Sanchez a great quarterback after he left? Anyone? No. And look, I can blame the Jets coaching staff. I can go from Herm Edwards. I can go from who took over afterwards? What's the name? Ryan, right? Rex Ryan. Herm Edwards, Rex Ryan. What's that? Robert Saleh or Salah. Look at Aaron Glenn now. What's the one thing all three of those guys have in common? Anyone? Every one of those guys are defensive players or coaches. That's what all of them are. Defensive. Not one offensive coach to speak of. None of them. Why? How could you possibly be able to mold a quarterback when the coaches are all defensive? Could those guys, we had Revis Island under Coach Ryan, that lockdown cornerback. He was a star of the team. Nothing was getting by Darrelle Revis. Nothing. Why? Because they had a defensive coach. The defense is always unstoppable. That's why we got Saleh. What was Saleh? He was the defensive coordinator over at San Francisco. Did he make the Jets a great defensive team? Sure he did. Couldn't score a point to save his life. Because he didn't know how. What, do you think the team was going to score points by interceptions alone? Sure, they blame the coach. But if the quarterback can't play, if the quarterback can't throw, if the offensive line doesn't, I mean, come on. If the offensive line is porous, why do you think they keep trading all of these players? I'm just saying. Anyway, forget it before I go off on the deep end. Dave's in Branford. Hello, Dave.
Okay. I have a different topic. I spent my day in the library today. Okay. By the way, I don't agree with that sports analogy Austin was talking about. You fire the coach when you don't win enough.
Yeah.
Because we are not playing the red shirts against the blue shirts. We live, it's the ocean that you swim in.
That's right.
It's like you're playing on a football field, and the grass is a foot tall when you're running in your direction, and it's a golf course smooth when the other team's running in their direction.
Exactly.
That's the political climate in a blue state.
That's right.
So it's not really pick better candidates because you're not fighting against the blue. You're fighting against the field.
That's right.
And it's a lot more daunting. So I was at the library, and the political bias against our side is so severe. I wanted a book. I wanted RFK Jr.'s book about understanding Anthony Fauci.
Oh, okay.
It's called The Real Anthony Fauci. So here's I'll build it up this way. All the political liberal books, my library in Branford, we have a book by Stacey Abrams, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, and a climate book by Greta Thunberg.
No.
It's a big, thick book, honest to God. We do not have a single book by Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams, Milton Friedman, William F. Buckley, or Rush Limbaugh, who has got adult books like The Way It Ought to Be and the Child series,
Rush Revere.
Rush Limbaugh. Ideological bias to the extreme. It's just horrible. Now, here's the bad thing. I wanted to read that book about Fauci, and it also had a lot about the AIDS vaccine, the COVID vaccine, and Big Pharma, and how we're in cahoots, with the political favoritism. Here's what I found. So my library doesn't have the book. My library is a collective with 38 other libraries in my local area.
Uh-huh.
None of them have the book.
So when you asked the librarian to find out if any of the adjoining libraries had the book that you were looking for, the RFK book, not one had it.
0 for 38. So he went up on the statewide, according to the Jordan, in the reference librarian.
Yeah.
Three libraries in the state of Connecticut, public libraries, have that book in the entire state.
Holy moly.
He said, and I asked when it first came out, the few libraries that did have it, there was like a 6-person waiting list to get a hold of the book. So I declined. I didn't want to wait that long to get the book. So what he said was they had determined the book did not meet their standards. For either accuracy or lack of. Remember, during the Biden era,
isn't that ridiculous?
It absolutely is.
It doesn't meet our standards. Did you read the book? Well,
and just to leave off on that point, they didn't want you reading any anti-vax books.
Right.
And it got the kibosh by the Biden administration, and we'll end it on this. Last week, I think it was Trans Awareness Week.
Yeah.
They had a little octagon table in the middle of the rotunda of my library with at least a dozen books on the topic of growing up trans.
Jeez.
And the ideological bias, and it's because our side gets crap in the newspaper for censoring books, either at the Board of Education level or at the library level. It's absolutely clear. It ain't us.
Yep. You're 100% right.
Books. That was the point I wanted to make.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure, sir.
Bye.
You got it. Dave is in Windsor. What's up, Dave?
Hey, good afternoon, Reese.
What's up, man?
Hey, I heard you mention sobriety. You happen to be a friend of Bill W. by any chance?
I am, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 20 years for me.
All right. Congrats, baby. 6, going on 7.
Good for you. Hey, what I find pretty hypocritical about this whole drug thing is Trump pardoning the president of Honduras, who is a drug kingpin.
Yes.
And, that was absolutely appalling to me and hypocritical. And also a few weeks ago when he pardoned the Chinese crypto guy who admitted to laundering money for drug cartels and human trafficking.
And so you think this is hypocritical in the sense of, even though he is stopping the sort of drug trafficking inside the country, that these two things sort of wash out his efforts, in your view?
Well, in my opinion, actions speak louder than words.
Right.
And the DOJ put a lot of effort, the FBI and the CIA and the rest of the people put a lot of effort into getting that drug kingpin, and he's a drug kingpin from Honduras, put in prison where he belongs. And he was responsible for bringing in 500 tons of cocaine into this country, saying he was going to, poison the gringos. Did they give?
Wow. Did they give the department or at least the administration give a reason for the I saw that actually in a news packet. I meant to grab that. What was the reason for the pardon? Do you know?
Well, Trump said he heard that the people in Honduras liked him. It was the stupidest.
I hope you I hope you are kidding when you say that. I'm going to look that up.
Look it up.
Okay, all right. I will report on that tomorrow. To be fair and balanced to a lot of my lefties who say, "Oh, you didn't know anything about that." Good, I'll cover it tomorrow. I will.
Yeah, and the other thing, I don't know if that was the exact words.
No, it's okay. I mean, I know you're probably paraphrasing.
I'm paraphrasing. The other thing is, with taking out these boats.
Yeah.
This fiscal year in 2025, the Coast Guard has seized 510,000 pounds of cocaine and illicit drugs with a value of over $7.2 billion. Now they're doing that by interceding the boats, capturing the guys that are driving them, and now you have somebody that you can interrogate and follow up the chain. Taking these guys out, especially that boat that had 11 people in it, that wasn't hauling drugs. I guarantee it wasn't.
Even if they weren't, well, here's my thing, right? So I'm assuming here, you have an issue with blowing up these boats. And you have no issue with grabbing these boats, grabbing the individuals who have the cocaine and getting it into the possession of the United States Coast Guard. You're okay with us actually grabbing said cocaine and bringing it into a holding cell in our shores?
Well, what they do with it is they burn it and destroy it. That's what they do with it.
But, Hopefully.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But look, I doubt they're putting it back on the street.
You know what? I don't know. I don't want to use the word hopeful, because if you talk to Leroy yesterday, he'll tell you all day, every day, that they only end up infiltrating. They only end up putting it back in the street anyway. That's the part the point I was trying to make to him yesterday, is that I would rather those boats be blown up in the middle of the sea than for that ever to reach my shores into the hands of the Coast Guard or any government entity, because guess what I know? I know I can't trust inside those organizations. I can't trust the government anymore. Not anymore. And I don't want those drugs in those hands where somebody is going to use that as an opportunity either to enrich themselves or to then get them into those communities because they are part of some, a deep state narco terrorism of communities that are vulnerable. I don't want it on these shores. I want them blown up. I have no problem with those killing those guys. Not one.
Well, first of all, they've shown no evidence as to who they're even killing.
We should show evidence of what they. So, should we ID them before we blow them up, or do we ID them afterwards?
Where are you getting the intel from?
Where are you getting the intel from? What do you mean?
He's throwing out things like, oh, these are this particular drug cartel. This particular drug cartel. We knew exactly who the people were on the boat.
Because we have people on the ground, though.
Okay, well, give the evidence to Congress, just like they're asking for. Then let's find out, because what's going on here is a violation, and I'm a veteran, and it is a violation of the oath that you take, and it is a violation.
How is it? No, it's not. Come on, seriously, no, it's not. It's not. If they've been designated as a terrorist organization, and you are in the middle of a terrorism, you're in an effort to deter terrorism or narco terrorism, you have the right to kill said enemy. It's almost like you want to take the approach Barack Obama did with ISIS, where he would have an F-15 fly out and drop off flyers to ISIS and say, hey, you better not be here tomorrow at 6. We're going to bomb you. Would you prefer that?
No.
Okay.
No, but that's not what we're talking about.
No, we are. We are talking about the same thing. But anyway, I got to take a break. Thank you, man. Time to get to another check of weather and traffic because you got to get home and it's blustery out there. Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed from WTIC News Talk 1080. Download the free Odyssey app. Search WTIC News Talk 1080 and tap earlier today to get started.
I'm supposed to be going to a place called the Marshall House either tomorrow or the day after. I'm trying to arrange that now. Do you know anything about, if anybody knows anything about the Marshall House, let me know. It's associated with the Salvation Army, and I know we're doing, this Friday, we're going to be doing the holiday store at Avon Farms, so Reese on the radio will be there live. I'm sure you know about it. If you want to come by and come hang out with Reese on radio, you can. I'll be there, of course, from 2 to 6. I'll probably be there a little earlier. I mean, I expect to be there at least by 1, but I'll be there to hang out a little bit. Roland, unfortunately, will not be there. He'll be here producing the program, so he won't be able to hang out with me, which isn't awful because it'll kind of be like when I used to do the remotes when I was all the way in Texas, which would kind of be the same thing. It'll almost be like getting back to the old way. Roland, don't you think? That would pretty much be like the old way we used to do it. It's like we've actually figured out how to do it where we can do a remote. Like it'll be back to the original way we did the show.
Yeah, I forgot how to do that.
Did you forget?
Yeah, no.
You got so used to doing things this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to be there because I haven't been there in years. I want to say 2022, Christmas of 2022. This will be 3 years.
Yeah, yep.
Wow, 3 years since I've done the holiday store. So this
that was
is
my first Christmas here.
Was that your first Christmas here?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I'm looking forward that it will be because I was filling in then for Todd.
Yep.
It wasn't like I didn't broadcast from there. I did. But this year it'll be, my show, and I'll get to hang out with you guys. And, if you want to come by and donate to the holiday store, please do. We expect it to be really, really cold. What did you say the temperature was going to be on Thursday? Did you say 9?
Yeah, I think it's at 9 degrees.
I can't believe it's going to be 9 degrees.
And you're going to be here.
I've dealt with cold weather before, but I don't know if I remember ever. Well, it was minus 14 3 years ago it was like Christmas Eve in Avon. We took the boy to go to Barnes & Noble because it was the only thing open on Christmas Eve. We drove there, and we got out of the car, and I was like, how cold is it? It was 14, at least. Maybe it wasn't 14 below. It maybe was just 14 degrees.
Yeah,
but it was,
wait till it start being 4 and 5 degrees plus the wind chill chopping you up.
Yeah, that's gonna really suck. I hate that type of temperature. Because when it's cold and it's wet and it's icy, I am not ready
I'm
for
inside.
That. Yeah, I'm inside. I'm with you. I lost my mic. Let's get to another check of weather and traffic. Mark Christopher's getting you home. He's in the BPS Traffic Center. How are you doing, sir? What's up, everybody? You know who it is.
You know who it is. You know who it is.
It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
Okay. So there are times when I read something and I go, really? Sokolowski. No, sorry. Sokolowski. And I love Sok. Sok has a differing opinion than I do about the drug boats. And again, I know a lot of people who they feel the way that they do about the whole drug boat thing, and it's destructive, right? The military, that's their job, right? It's to break things. Maybe that's lost on this generation. I don't know. And when I say this generation, like the era that we're in, I'm not talking about you by age. I'm talking about the time that we are in. I get it. I totally do. I don't agree with it, but I get it. It's my job to understand where you are and why you're there. But I don't agree with you. So let me read what Sokolowski writes. He says, we have no right to destroy any boats. Define how we have no rights. It's not enough to say, Sokolowski. That's a term that people just throw out there. We got no right to do that. Explain to me why we don't. Explain to me what the rights are that we do have. So you tell me, we have no right. Tell me what rights we do. He then goes on to say, whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, not on the battlefield. Just tell me exactly where on the battlefield at any time where we said, hey, you insurgent, hold on. We got to hold the trial before we can shoot. Come on. I'm not trying to be like combative here. I'm not even trying to be dismissive. But these are your words, so I'm using them. That's not helping me. Venezuela is not our country. Absolutely. Do they have drugs on the boat? Yes. Are the boats on their way to us? Yes. Are we the biggest purchasers of said drugs? Absolutely. Is that a threat? Yes. But again, I get perspective. You may not think them bringing those drugs over here are a problem. That's okay. I do. Drugs kill a lot of people. Drugs have affected a lot of families. I'm sure that you and many of the people that you know may have family members or people who have been affected by said drugs. I have. I have been affected by those drugs in my family, from dealers to people who have overdosed to a life I had to save, giving CPR that I thankfully learned from watching television. Never had a class. Or as Ferris Bueller would say, never had a lesson. Imagine walking into your home, finding a loved one passed out in your den, unresponsive, completely drugged out, not breathing, and having to perform CPR because of their addiction. Asking yourself, why? Having to put that person in the hospital, watching them in the hospital, looking a mess, throwing up on themselves. I'm sorry. I mean, I look at drugs in a particular point of view, and again, I'm not this end-all and be-all, but I just look at it from the point of view that I'm in. I'm talking about somebody who I loved, cared about, dying because of their addiction. And I see those drug boats getting blown up, and I don't know, I just have a different perspective. I'm not suggesting that you don't have a right to your opinion. Of course you do. I just disagree. And I have no problem with their lives being extinguished over my loved ones, over my American citizens who have found more and more ways to get higher and higher and higher, and to destroy their lives and to destroy the lives of their families, their mothers, their fathers, their grandmothers, their grandfathers, stealing from them, taking from them, destroying their children's lives. I look at the carnage of that. I watch kids in the inner city shooting each other over corners to sell those same drugs that are coming across those boats. I see the carnage that is made of our inner cities, some of the inner cities that I grew up in. And I see those boats blow up and I smile. I don't look at them as innocent people. I look at the innocence that was stolen from children who have parents who are addicted to drugs while their parents neglect them and abandon them for their addiction. I weep for those kids. Those are the people who matter to me. And unfortunately, in this war, we got to choose a side. And if you're so concerned about the war on drugs and you don't want it taken out on the people, the people who are addicted here, who I agree with you, have a disease. If we're not going to take it out on them, if we're not going to incarcerate them, if we're not going to put them in prison cells, and if we don't have enough beds inside detox places or rehabilitation places, we can't build enough of those clinics, or we can't afford to put every addicted person in them, something has got to give. And I say we give a bomb to the pieces of garbage who are bringing them in, who don't give two damns about my family members. I say hell with them. I just do. I say every time I see a boat coming across those waters with those kilos of cocaine or marijuana or whatever they're bringing, die. That's the way I feel. So, I know it's harsh. I know it is. I know it is, but can I want to do this real quick. I just want you to hear me out. I'm done with tiptoeing around a society that has allowed our men to become women and allowed our women to become a shell of themselves because there are no men who are willing to stand up and protect them. I'm done with that. I am not going to apologize for who I am. I am not going to apologize about being a conservative. I am not going to apologize about not taking this nonsense anymore. I refuse to be the sensitive snowflake that people want. I'm not going to cry, and I'm not going to whine, and I'm not going to care about people who obviously don't care about me. I'm not doing it anymore. You guys can do that to you. I mean, literally, till the cows come home. Fill your hearts with sensitivity. Fill your hearts with it. But please don't expect it from me. I just can't. I can't. I'm done with it because I've lost so much. The country has lost so much. I don't recognize it anymore. And the person, and that's the thing, while everyone else is taking, they're asking me to apologize for it while they rob me of the America that I know. They take everything. I'm not allowed to think the way I'm supposed to think, so they take that away from me. I'm not supposed to work the way in which I work. I'm not supposed to care about my country the way I used to care about it. They take all of that from me and then have the audacity to look me in the face and go, apologize for it. I'm done. I'm not apologizing for who I am. This generation is the last generation that knew the greatest generation. I'll say it again. This generation, mine, is the last generation that knew the greatest generation. When girls were girls and men were men, that generation is going to die with me. And I've got a choice. I can either keep it alive so that we can keep at least some semblance, just something that resembles a world that we could fight for. Or I can give it up to these whiners. And the worst part is that these people couldn't beat me in a fight. But I'm just ceding ground. You want to know why? Because just when I'm about to fight them, they fall on the ground, put their thumb in their mouth, and put themselves in a fetal position and say, please don't hurt me. And I'm supposed to capitulate to that. No. No. Get up, punk. Get up. Dust yourself off. I'm just not taking it anymore. Just done. And people know it. I'm telling you, people know it. They know exactly what I'm talking about. But I know some of them don't want to say it, but that's okay. That's okay. It's not, it's like me talking to Austin. I don't need anybody's permission, and I'm not asking. I don't need any of your permission to be who I am. I'm not asking. I don't care. And that's the problem. There's so many people who are sitting in the sidelines quiet because they care. I don't want to offend anybody. While they continuously offend you. Nobody seems to care about whether or not you're offended. No one cares about whether or not you've actually had your, the America that you once loved, the one that you worked so hard for, being stolen away from you because, yes, you're just not sensitive enough. You've given them everything. You made their lives cushy. And again, they don't even have the decency to thank you. But they want you to apologize. F them. I'm sorry. It's easy for me. It's easy for me. When I talk to the boy and he starts whining, I look at him, I go, calm down. Calm down. Get out of here. Knock it off. That attitude is never going to be able to protect their wives or their children. Whatever that is, that's never going to protect them. Your children will never, they'll be embarrassed to be around you. Stand up straight. People like you shouldn't be allowed to procreate. You want to have children? Knock it off. What will your son think of you? Sorry. Oh, I know. I'm listening. You're out there. I know what a lot of you are saying. You're saying to yourselves, damn right. I know you are. Before we get up out of here, let me take Lori. Hello, Lori. I know I'm being a little harsh today.
No. I wanted to thank you for mentioning about the children who have to suffer because of their parents' addictions.
Yeah.
I see it every day. And if people saw what I saw on the regular of what these babies have to go through and what these children have to go through, they would absolutely be on the same page as you. You have not understood the problem of drugs in our country until you are transporting a baby who is born addicted on fentanyl and heroin and heard its cries and screams and high-pitched and know that it's inconsolable because you can't take away the pain it's feeling due to the addiction. So until you've driven a baby in your car and you've heard those cries, don't talk to me. That I'm on the same page with you.
I know.
When it comes to all of this. So I have no patience for people who are crying over these drug boats. These people are making choices. There are natural consequences to your choices.
That's right.
FAFO. So if they want to make those choices, FO, you are in the FO portion of the FAFO. And
that's right. Found out.
If people saw what I saw on the regular, they would. I would bet dollars to donuts that they would change their mind.
Indeed. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I was watching this. I got a minute. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to get to you, but if you want to call me tomorrow, you can. But I want to say this before we leave. I was watching with my wife. She had never seen the movie Patriots Day with Mark Wahlberg that talked about the bombing of the Boston Marathon bomb. And, as much as these things are Hollywood produced, they sort of grab an emotion. But there's a scene in the movie. If you've watched it, you remember it. And when the bomb goes off, there was the one guy who was separated from his toddler that was out there. They were going to go root for mom who was running in the marathon. And he was very close with his child to one of the from the cookers that blew up. And there's the scene where the father is there, and he is, of course, injured. And the baby is being hauled away, and they're being separated. And you hear the cries and the screaming of that baby. As Roseanne is watching that for the first time, and I'm watching it, I'm telling you, I wanted to go to Boston and go wring the neck of Drakkar Tsarnaev. That's the feeling I get every time I see it. So that's what Lori's talking about. You got to see it to understand. When we watch those boats go up, there's a part of us that goes, yes. Because we know. We know. You're never going to understand where we're coming from. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on Radio. You Have a good night, pleasant tomorrow. Mark Christopher's getting you home. He's in the BPS Traffic Center. Good night, sir.
Girls were girls and men were men. Mister, we could use a man like Herbert Hoover
again.
Thank you, sir.
Tamerlan, who was run over by his brother.
Yes, Jakar Tsarnaev.
Jakar, yeah.
Yep.
Tamerlan, otherwise known as Speed Bump.
That's right.